everyone. So great to have you joining us. Thank you so much for spending your lunch hour, your breakfast, your dinner, depending on where you are with us. We are so happy to have you here. So, with that said, let's hand it over for today's event. I want to thank Cecilia and Lindsay so much for being here to present about AI prompting in Word for in-house legal. So I will hand it over to them. Cecilia, please feel free to take it away, and thank you again.
All right, amazing. I am Cecilia Ziniti. I'm the co-founder and CEO of GCAI, AI for In-House Counsel, and I am so excited to be back with the In-House Connect community. And you are in for a treat. We're going to move fast. I'm so excited. The intros only took 4 minutes because we've got a lot to cover. So glad you're here. I'm here joined by my colleague Lindsay Smith, and she is was a longtime real estate attorney at Cecilia in Austin, then made her way to legal tech, and we are so lucky because she is an absolute goddess at prompting in Word. And so the two of us are going to show you some good stuff. All right, let's go. All right, first camera's on. I know some of you are probably enjoying your desk salad or doing other stuff, but there is pretty good data in pedagogy that people that have their camera on learn better. So go for it, shocker. But also connect, whatever. And for me, it's just one notch less uncanny because I'm so used to working with AI that working with humans brings me tremendous energy. So thank you for that, and you'll thank yourself later. Amazing. All right, now I'm going to launch a poll, but basically, essentially, does your team have an AI goal in 2025? So actually, Shai or Katie, if you could go ahead and launch, that would be very helpful. But essentially, what we're seeing is that people really turns out legal AI is a thing, right? So ever since 2 years ago, when Chief Justice Roberts said that it may well be that legal work will soon be unimaginable without AI, we're seeing that legal teams are embracing it. And just by the fact that there's 500 of you here at this webinar, like it seems like people are on board. This is a fun one because I've watched this number just skyrocket. I was in a similar event last week and it was 92% were either yes or we've talked about it. So very excited that you're doing that. So what are our results looking like? Let's take a look. So it looks like we are at literally what? 59. So 86% of you have an AI goal. Awesome. Congratulations. You're taking steps towards your goal. It reminds me of one of my favorite books, Atomic Habits, literally like one step every day towards your goal. So just by being here, good job. Pat yourself on the back. All right. So how much are you actually using AI for legal work today? This is a super fun one. Some of you I know told me that you were coming in to this thing, and this is holy moly. This is absolutely amazing. I love this. All right, so it looks like, first of all, kudos for being incredibly fast answers. You all are like, when I was a summer associate at the firm and people would send out summer associate lunches, at the time I am the first person to respond and be like, okay, dinner, lunch at Aqua. Would get it? That's this group. I'm into it. All right, let's go. So it looks like basically a beautiful adoption curve. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. But essentially, what's amazing about this, let me show you, and I'll share the results with everybody. What's amazing about this poll is look at this. It looks like 81% of us are using AI at least weekly for legal work. That is shocking. So let me show you why that's shocking. Basically, there's an adoption curve around every kind of technology. And look at this. If you turn these poll results, it is exactly the adoption curve. So some of you are enthusiastic, early adopters. Maybe you've been using ChatGPT or other things for your legal work for 2 years since it came out. Others of you, our profession is part of it is to look out for risk, right? So you're probably a little bit more likely to take a beat, wait for a great tool to come out, which hint, hint, we're going to talk about one. But in general, like this is really incredible. I'm so proud of our profession for flying up this adoption curve. Never. At the time, 56% of us had never used AI for legal work. Today, literally the poll y'all just took that I'm sharing, that number is down to 20%. So when people are like, oh, lawyers are slow adopters, they can stuff it because we're not. So anyways, let's dive in. Congratulations. All right, so let me give us a little bit of an agenda now that we've done the data thing. Today, we're going to basically look around at Word, and we've got 4 things that we're going to show you in Word. We're going to orient you to a contract. We're going to show you AI reading the document and creating an issues list. Holy moly. Then we're going to actually go to what I call the final boss of legal AI today and do the red lines. So as we fly up that adoption curve, we're going to get to a world, and a lot of you have posted on LinkedIn, and I've spoken with a lot of you. We're going to get to a world where are we going to have boring AIs? Maybe. But our theory at GCAI is actually no, we're going to have elite athletes. We are like when the NBA moved the 3-point line. I know Shy is a fan, but when they move the 3-point line, suddenly everybody starts scoring. We just moved the 3-point line. The games are going to get more aggressive, more fun, more interesting. Like it is a great time to be an in-house professional. Other big metaphor I like to use is giving an elite legal team member AI. It's like giving an elite marathon runner a bike. So y'all are already really fast at marking up contracts or at doing things in Word, but giving you this tool is giving you a bike. So you're already really athletic. It takes some adjustment though, of course, right? You need your helmet, you got to maybe learn how to do it. If you're going to do some serious mountain biking, you're going to prep for that. That's where we are now. So this class today or this session today is like, all right, we're going to get on the bike and we're going to show you. Lindsay's an elite rider. She also climbs, but we're going to show you how to do that. Very excited for the day today. By the way, other thing, like I said, I do looking at the Zoom chat and feel free to chime in. It'll be like, what is it, a Peloton class, your favorite Peloton instructor, get in there and we'll do it. Amazing. All right, so flying up the adoption curve, incredible. We saw it from June to January, it went up like crazy, and now that number went up even more. So congrats. All right, fun one. We asked last time, what are you doing with legal AI? And maybe you can answer that in the chat as well. But you'll see that the thing that comes out is that basically it looks like mostly people are doing contracts. So what are the words jumping out from this word cloud? Contract, review, compare, summarize, draft. These are all things that we're doing on the commercial side. Okay, so obviously those of you who are not on the commercial side don't feel left out. We almost named GCAI Product Counsel AI because I wanted there to be a good AI for those of us that don't only focus on agreements. So I saw this word cloud. I'm like, holy moly, we got to bring this show on the road. We got to bring great AI to work. All right, so anybody remember the same principles that apply to AI prompting in a web app, with ChatGPT, with any tool you use? Those same principles apply to using AI in work. Okay, so you are the boss, you are Meryl Streep in this scene. So our heroine here, Anne Hathaway, wears the dumpy blue sweater to work at a fashion magazine. Not great. Doesn't mean she's not smart, but it does mean that here the Meryl Streep character is going to tell her what to do in very copious detail, give her the direction. We're going to take that concept and apply it in Word, right? So just straight redlining, okay, maybe, you can do that. But what happens when you, the elite fashion editor, give the AI instructions for how to dress and what to do? What happens when you do that is you get your contract or your AI looking like $1 million like this. So big theme in all of AI prompting is to think of AI as a smart, fast, sometimes eager intern who has read the whole internet, every book, every case, passed the bar exam. So now you are telling them, okay, here's what I want you to do to my contract. Here's how I want you to summarize it. You are using this sort of brain power at your disposal. So that's the metaphor that keeps on giving. It's a little bit meta. It's okay. But hopefully you can find it empowering because we're going to go over a bunch of tactical things, but on the kind of strategic side, you're the boss. And the fact that you all are using AI already, whatever 86% of you were using AI at least weekly for your legal work, means you're already good at this. It's a great job. All right, so here we go to Word. I was a paralegal before law school, so I was like even more into it. And I think it was literally a career accelerant for me that I was like so good at like making bullets and making like paragraph numbers and keep with next and all these things that like my fellow document nerds, of which I see a couple in this group, are probably that way. But essentially the software came out in 1983. That makes it a millennial, or at least borderline millennial, I think 1984. 90% of us use Word every single day, which is like shocking. Also, most of us rely on templates, and a lot of us consider Word to be very important for our legal work. Okay, so basically this idea that this is the place if you want to make an impact in legal. All right, so let's take a look. Do you use Word? Do you use Word never, occasionally, or daily? Look at that. Oh my word. I guess it makes sense. Pardon the pun. Oh my word. We are at 97%. Damn. All right. All right. Poll results relatively conclusive. Look at this. 95% of you are in Word every day. So at GCAI and my last three startups, we are a Google Docs shop. So I am not at daily. I'm probably more at maybe 3 times a week, but obviously developing this product more so. How often do you breathe? All right, I'm so excited to show you this stuff. All right, so let's do a quick refresher. What is a prompt? That's what we're going to be talking about today. So look at this, 95% of us are using Word every single day. I just adore that. So good. All right, so what is a prompt? A prompt is an instruction to the AI. The AI reads it and acts on what you say. Now, in the back end, there's something called a system prompt. So at GCAI, our system prompt is like 4,000 lines long. We are constantly tweaking it to be perfect, to know exactly what systems to call, what to do when you ask questions a certain way, how a lawyer or an in-house lawyer would think about something. We've got all that baked in. Some AIs don't do that. If you go to Amazon's AI on the Amazon website, it has been trained and told in its system prompt to make shopping recommendations, right? So you ask about a case about fisheries, suddenly you're getting recommended to buy tuna on Amazon Fresh. So that is an example of what's going on in the back end. All right. AI wants to please. This is something that's been in the news a little bit. It's a little sycophantic, which for legal purposes is sometimes an issue. That is a general thing with AI. GCAI, we've generally solved that quite a bit. But if you see that, that's something to be aware of if you're not using GCAI, if you're using other tools. WordPerfect, Brian, I remember WordPerfect when I was a clerk at the court. We still had WordPerfect at the Ninth Circuit. So yes, I remember that. I'm told the federal courts have since moved to Word. I don't know if anybody in the chat can confirm who's been there more recently than either Brian or I. I love it. All right. Answers may vary when you ask again. So AI is non-deterministic. In other words, sometimes you can use this to your advantage, ask the same question twice. And finally, prompts later in the session, remember what you said earlier. This is particularly important in Word because you've got the document open and you want to make sure that if you're talking about a particular topic, you keep those chats together or you start a new chat if you're going to talk about something fresh. And finally, great prompting helps on any platform, but the platform matters a lot too. So sometimes people ask, oh, do I need to learn this? No, you don't. You can wait till the tools catch up to give you bells and whistles for everything. But what I find is that we are so powerful as lawyers in our manipulation of contracts that dumbing things down is not the way to go. So we have a thing at GCAI that we assume lawyers are smart because we are. And so essentially we give you the power to do what it is you want. And so pairing that power with knowing how to use the tool, that's where you get the really elite kind of NBA level basketball playing that we're going to see. All right, so top 6 tips for prompting in Word, and then we're going to dive in. Enough of the talk. All right, treat it like an intern, give it context. So on GCAI, this means give it your company profile. Of course, if you've got a new client or you started in a company, you're going to mark up contract. I can guarantee if you are part of the legal team for, I don't know, Nike, you probably mark contracts up a little bit differently than if you were part of the legal team or you were representing a small direct-to-consumer e-commerce provider, right? So that's going to be a little different. Leverage is different. Situations are different. What hills you die on are different. So telling the AI your general positions, that's going to give you some better results. It's also similar to the intern metaphor, where if you tell your intern what your risk position is or how much you want something marked up, AI will follow that instruction. All right, start with an overview. I tend to, in my prompting, to be like, hey, tell me what's going on in this contract, and then drill down to the specifics. I find the results a little bit better. You can try and ask your question directly, no sweat, but in general, if I'm going to really dive deep on a thorough review in Word, I like to start with that overview. All right, be specific. Be specific with what you want. The more specific that you are, the clearer your intern or your AI can do it, right? All right, iterate. This is something that I think all of you, so all of you, I think it was like 80% of you are using AI for legal work at least weekly. The thing that I see make a big difference in people's quality of their output is to iterate, right? So you can ask the question first, and then you can drill down, right? So make the confidentiality obligation 5 years. Okay, draft me a comment for that. And so like building on whatever it is that you asked. Give me a summary of the Digital Services Act. Fine. Okay, now give me FAQs I can use for the business team on this. And so just like taking a concept and really running with it across that chain of things you do as an in-house team member. Do people do this? Do people have conversations with their AI? I think they do, but something to think about. And then once you get good, that's when it's time to do playbooks. So playbooks are all the rage for a good reason, and we'll talk about those too. But I want you all to have the fundamentals first and then move to the more, okay, what is the AI going to do for me? How is it going to run this playbook? Because that's how you're going to apply your legal judgment, get to the judgment layer, and add that value you have from knowing your business best and having negotiated and breathed the air of word, as Phil said. All right. Okay, so why prompt in Word, real quick? Basically, no task switching, review, edit, and prompt in one place, apply changes directly, keep your formatting. AI knows the document context, save time with fewer steps. So I don't have to market this too hard. All of you are here, but let's go ahead and dive in. All right, let's go ahead and look at use cases. So redlining, issue spotting, drafting, etc. All right, so I'm going to screenshot this, drop it in the chat. And those of you who are slightly goody two-shoes like me, which is most of us, by the way, in law school, I literally couldn't bring myself to skip class because I figured out that the cost was $2 a minute. And I just was like too cheap for that. So I by 3L year, I would go to class and basically reach the end of the internet. Anyways, that was probably just me, but hopefully you all are better students than I am. All right, let's keep going. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in to Word itself. I'm going to change my screen share to get my whole screen, and we'll do that. So we do have a professional duty under the California bar has given guidance, New York bar has given guidance, Georgia, other states that basically say that the duty of confidentiality applies in an AI context similarly to anywhere else. So client A information, you do have a duty to client A. If you're in-house, client A is your client. So as you are evaluating tools like GCAI, ask the provider, what are you doing with our data? Is there a possibility that it could be shown to others? Is it isolated? How does it work? Probably should also look for SOC 2 Type 2 compliance. That means that there's a certain amount of protections on this from a security standpoint. And then in terms of data isolation, in this case, we're going to be doing Word. So your client is whoever your one client is, but ask the provider to address that. We address it at GCAI for your general purpose tools, your ChatGPTs and your Claudes. That may or may not be the case. So you do have a professional duty to check, are they training on your data? Are they keeping your data isolated? And then those of you who are in a position to procure software, which hopefully is all of you, and hopefully all of you buy from Lindsay and me. But anyways, those of you who are in that position, we're very happy to work with you on diligence. If a vendor does not work with you on that type of diligence, they are not the right vendor. They are not focused on legal. All right. Amazing. So here we are. Does that answer your question? The person that asked, I think it was Shannon. I can't remember. All right.
That was great.
Okay. Okay, perfect. All right, so we are going to do a little exercise, and I am going to pretend that I received an NDA red line today. Okay, so I got this email. I represent Acme Soft, and I get the email saying, "Hey, Cecilia, thanks for sending this over. Please find attached our red line version of the NDA. Let me know if you'd like to hop on a quick call to talk through the changes. Happy to keep this moving forward. Excited to work with Acme Soft. Best, Kira Koopman's corporate counsel at Customer Co." This happens to me at least, 4 or 5 times a week. I like NDAs because they usually mean we're going to get some money. And here's the NDA that I received. It looks like it's marked up. Okay, so the situation is I sent my red line over to Customer Co. They marked it up, and here I am opening it. So orienting myself to the platform, I've clicked on the GCAI add-in here in the top right-hand corner. Whatever your add-in of choice is, you would do that. In GCAI, we actually asked which company you represent. So in this scenario, I represent Acme Soft, and I'm going to hit continue, and it's going to orient to that. It's going to orient to that, and basically what I'm going to start with is that general prompt. I'm going to say, orient me to this contract, please. All right, big debate. Do you say please and thank you to your AI? I do. I think it's important. It does make a difference because AI will mirror you. So let's take a look at what it does. AI will mirror you if you use more bro-ish language. People have pointed out that AI will respond in kind. So I try to use the kind of language that I want back. All right, so here AI has given me an overview of what the contract does. So the purpose, it covers information exchange, the obligations, each party is required to keep the other's confidential info confidential, the ownership, and you can see that the AI is telling me exactly where it's getting this information. These little kind of Christmas ornament things are taking me there. And that's helpful for me and also only possible in Word, right? It's literally telling me what I can look at. So it's really nice to have my kind of workspace and then my little friend here on the right telling me what's going on. All right, great. So it's done a nice job with that. So what I'm going to say, risk issues, Illinois law. Ooh, I don't like that. But let me actually take the next step and say, what do the red lines on this contract do? Now, this is fun. I would consider this like revolution. This is amazing because, of course, when you mark up a contract and you get back a red line in an M&A context, in an employment comp and ben context, maybe your own offer letter, whenever you get the red line, it's always that, oh my gosh, let me summarize the red line. What's going on? Where do we stand? And in this case, recall Kira, my counterpart, she did not tell me what she did. She just popped over the red lines. Nicer etiquette might have been to do that, but we're going to have the AI do that for us. All right. What do the red lines do? They insert customer codes details. No sweat there. They add an AI tool restriction. What? We're an AI company at AcmeSoft. Probably not okay. So this is interesting. What did they add? They said, we agree not to input, use, disclose, or otherwise process confidential information in any third-party generative AI tool, such as ChatGPT, unless we've created a dedicated sandbox, provided in any event that they must be consistent with the obligations under this agreement. Okay, so she's added that restriction. Clarify the destruction exception. All right, let's go take a look at that. That is, where is that? Let's take a look. They've added, yeah, so in which case notice, okay, so she added email notice. Great, I like that. I'm going to actually make that change to my global template. But you can see that the AI has explained exactly the 7 changes that she's made. Amazing. All right, so should I accept the AI tool restriction? Our own tool is AI. So this is an example. I started general, right? What does this contract do? Then I went to the red lines and I created this basically issues list. Now I'm drilling down on a specific issue. Make sense? Okay, I saw Rose nod. Makes me happy. All right, good stuff. Okay. You should not accept the AI restriction as written because it could restrict AcmeSoft's ability to use its own AI-powered SaaS platform to process customers' information, even if that's the core of your service. The clause currently prohibits inputting, using, disclosing, or otherwise processing confidential info. Key issues, recommended approach, carve out our own platform. Okay, great. All right, so give me a red line that carves out our platform, please. Okay. So AI is going to take a minute to think. It's going to come up with a draft, and then it's going to make that change. So let's see what happens here. This is something that the AI, every time it's thinking or answering to your question like this, it is using that information, using the entirety of the contract context, plus your instructions, plus our chat to come up with the right response. So let's see what it does here. Give it 1 second. Meanwhile, while that's working, there was the question about how to get this. We do have free trials at GCAI. So gc.ai, I think it's sign up in the top right-hand corner. So you can play along and do what we did. But let's take a look while that's going. Meanwhile, Lindsay, have I forgotten anything in terms of this orientation?
No, I think this is a good overview so far. So it's just a reminder that you can ask it very high level things like Cecilia did, just like orient me. So maybe you don't even know what you don't know yet, and it can then iterate after that to dig down into the specific provisions like she's done.
Exactly. All right, so sometimes our AI gets a little stumped. I think she's a little stumped now. I'm going to give her a slightly easier question. And I'm going to say, I'm going to reset the chat and I'm going to say, change the confidentiality obligation to 5 years, please. Okay, so let's see what that does. I'm going to come back to that because I think that question about the AI tool was super juicy. So I'm going to come back to it. We are just like every other provider. There are sometimes the outside models are a little bit slower, so that can happen. But meanwhile, other things of note, you can see that the actual edits here were from author. So our edits are going to be from me. So we'll give that a second. Meanwhile, Lindsay, did you want to get set up on your screen as well?
Yeah, happy to take over.
Okay.
So, by way of my background, as Cecilia mentioned, I was a real estate attorney for the first half of my career before moving into the legal tech space. And here we go. I joined legal tech back when any kind of AI was brand new. So I feel like I've seen all the iterations of how things have grown. And I'm just so excited about what AI can do in practice. It's things that 5 years ago we absolutely did not dream we could do. So I'll go ahead and show an example of just how to walk through and redline a contract. So I'm going to take, like Cecilia showed, an NDA, and I put the prompts in the slides just so you all have an example of what I used if you want to try this yourself. So I just took a simple prompt for, let's pretend we're entering into a partnership. And just in terms of prompt best practices, I'm giving it context. This is what we're doing. And I said, below are some checks we always make. Please also review for unusual items. So I gave it a specific list of 4 preferences I have in my NDAs for it to review. If you have frequent checks you do on frequent document types, so if your team is spending lots of time reviewing NDAs, lots of time reviewing vendor paper, lots of time reviewing employment agreements, you can save repeatable prompts so you're not doing this all from scratch every single time. Instead, you have your checklist ready to run. So I'm going to ask the AI to do this initial check for me. And you can see right away it's saying, hey, this is half good, half not so good. You're going to have to negotiate a few things in this contract. So confirmed, I said I don't want it to transfer my IP. It doesn't. But I said I wanted New York law, and this is Massachusetts. I can jump by clicking the little citation bubble to see exactly where it's pulling its information, so I know where it's getting its decisions from. Confirm there's no indemnification, and we do want to change because I said I don't want to have to mark my information. I just want a reasonableness standard. So it also flagged high risk issues of, are you okay with it being a 5-year period? Are you okay with attorney's fees, etc.? And it gave me some action items. So I'm just going to go ahead and say redline to, let's say, change governing law and remove the marking requirement. And it'll now go through and start making these changes. And this is really interesting because for anybody who has worked on like a browser-based AI platform, it's really fantastic how the AI can review a contract and give you an issues list. And then I always hear, okay, can it make the changes? And now AI can make the changes, which is pretty cool. So I can click jump to, or I'm already there because we're talking about governing law. And this looks good. I said I want a New York law. You can see it even cleaned up a stray bracket that was in the document that I didn't know was in there, and it helpfully made that change. That's the beauty of Gen AI is it can go outside the box of just word for word swapping and do full semantic changes. And it's generating the red line as well for the marking change I asked for. While it does that, this is a pretty straightforward change, but if it was something like that the other side might not know why I had made this change, you can also click generate comment, and that's going to basically apply a comment to the document that is going to say, here's what I did. And these are obviously changeable, and it shows that it's from me. They've gotten rid of the marking requirement. That looks pretty good. But if I'm like, you know what, I could go in with a pencil, make any specific changes, draft it if I want. But if I also want it to say, hey, make sure all oral disclosures are confidential, then I can regenerate just this one specific change. If I change my mind, if it's not exactly what I want, if I want to go further, etc. So you don't have to start from scratch. You can keep working within your specific workflow to get the exact language that you want. So that's going to go in our definition of confidential information. So this is just to show how you can be implementing your changes without having to toggle between 2 different platforms. So I could go through and create a prompt that's, these are the 8 checks that I want the paralegal to make on every single NDA before it comes to my desk, so that when I'm reviewing it, it's hopefully pretty close to ready to go and we feel good based on our playbook, something like that. So that's how you would implement routine checks, routine playbook making within Word itself. And as Cecilia mentioned, the AI may be sleepy on, like I said, this rainy Wednesday that most of the country seems to be getting rain today.
So on our bingo card that I had shown, we've seen redlining. Lindsay showed AI making a comment. We saw the summary, both of the contract itself and of the red lines. Like that's super fun. So maybe we should drill down a little bit more on that. Lindsay, might you have an example?
Of how to work with the red line, you said?
Yeah, exactly.
And you can see it did, I had asked for oral changes and it did go through and let's see, did it make our change? Oh yeah, the information disclosed orally will be confidential.
And
If
look
it,
at this. Drill
words.
down a little bit on this, Lindsay. What's
Yeah.
super fun about this is a dumber intern would strike the whole dang section, find something from your wiki and add that whole section. But this actually did that surgical red line, right? So like what people tell us sometimes is, oh, do you sell GCAI to non-lawyers? And one of our power users, love him. I don't know. That's like handing out scalpels and telling people to do their own surgery, Cecilia. I don't think you should do that. I think you got to sell to surgeons, which is us. So here we go. You can see exactly that it made the red lines. And if she was to click apply here, go ahead and apply that, it would actually go ahead and make those changes just like a human would. So look at it going live. It's literally making the individual changes in that way. Now, this one is perhaps a little bit overly aggressive, but I do the based on the nature of circumstances language. So I think it did a nice job there. And then show us again, Lindsay, how it makes a comment. So in this case, she wants
Yeah.
to cover oral information. I think that's reasonable. So she can generate that comment there and it'll go ahead and make a reasonable assumption based on the company that she's loaded about it. Now, something more advanced, if let's say Lindsay represented one of our customers is in the nuclear space, secret AF, right? So literally anything that you do is going to be confidential. They would load into their profile, we're a nuclear company, we are super secret, and that would be reflected in the comments. Here, Lindsay's made this comment, by the way, eliminated the blanket requirement to mark tangible information and clarified the new or should have known standard, retain the specific requirement. Now, a little bit wordy, but definitely a nice first draft. Lindsay can click edit comment and go from there. But again, elevating you to that judgment layer where like the thing you wanted to do, namely account for oral disclosure, has been done. And it's just about like editing and getting that final bit out. I love this, Lindsay.
I wish I had had this since the day I started practicing law. Like I said, my background's in real estate. So I pulled a PSA. And this would be an example of if you're in-house, you probably do a lot of coordination among teams within your company with outside counsel. You're the central point on a lot of matters and in charge of just making sure the deal gets done or the contract gets executed, whatever it is. So I'm pretending that this is an example of I've gone through and let's say I've reviewed it, I got this from outside counsel, and they flagged or I flagged, oh, we need these schedules, I need you to approve X, Y, and Z. So I've already put a bunch of comments in this document that you might have that from just like reviewing documents, your day-to-day work that you need other people to opine on. So I've made a prompt called comment compiler. And so just again, walking through best prompting practices, I've said, I've added comments towards this document. Please review the comments, group them by the party whose approval or information is required, and then draft emails to these people with the action items I need from them. So I'll go ahead and start running this. So instead of me going through and manually creating all of these action items after I've done my work, AI is automatically saying, hey, you flagged two things for asset management and put it in email format. So I can just drop this in an email to them and say, I need you to confirm this exhibit. I need you to confirm the prices in this schedule. And you'll note as well, I was pretty casual when I said things like confirm the property list. I asked it to make it conversational for an email so it actually would be something that looks like it's coming from me. So you can see here I have going to the ops team, please review the cost allocations on this schedule. The compliance team, have we gotten our KYC check? And all of this again is formatted like you would actually write in an email, as opposed to just a bullet list of my offhanded comments as I reviewed. And then follow-up tasks, I said, if there's anything that I have flagged to myself, check our playbook on this, or have we given this before? That would go in my follow-up task list. So this is an example of how you can use it not just to mark up your document, but whole matter management to keep things moving on your team side.
And this is the thing that I will say that a lot of people ask, okay, what's different about in-house legal? Like the legal work obviously is a very important part of what we do, but getting the deal done, in this case, Lindsay's purchase and sale agreement done, driving that and the puts and the takes and like who you contact, being the person that drives it across the finish line. And in my case, the more complex deals I've done, it's typically been venture capital financings or big strategic deals. But coordinating all the different players, right? So engineering and product and whoever it is that's involved in your licensing deal, that's a key part of the work and where you can drive value, be able to know what to do. And having the AI get you, in this case, basic emails reaching out to your folks and being on top of it and keeping that deal momentum going, because of course, time kills all deals, that's a big part of the job, right? And so having AI or your intern assigned not just to that first pass, but having it also help you on these next tasks it just makes me so excited. Awesome. All right. So what's next, Lindsay?
So I went ahead and just reshared this prompt because someone I asked about it, and I think the slides will be available for people as well. So I'll open it up. Do we want to turn to questions? Cecilia, do you want to look at an MSA? What are we feeling?
So I actually had the example that I was doing before. Our AI needed a minute because it was getting tired from the grayness. So I'm going to actually go ahead and share what it did for that gnarly AI example. So in this case, I remember the NDA I had from Kira. She had basically told me they had added an AI restriction in the NDA. And I told the AI, great, give me a red line that carves out our own software, right? So if we've got an AI restriction, that's fine. But our software is literally AI. Here at GCAI, we run all our contracts through GCAI. So I carved that out and I said, great, carve this out. And basically it did exactly. It said, for the avoidance of doubt, shall not include service providers' own software, services, or AI-enabled features, provided that any such use is subject to the confidentiality obligations of this agreement. So it did literally a perfect carve out for exactly what I wanted. This AI restriction prevents this. Bottom line, if you use Gen AI tools, you can't accept this. The sandbox carve out is not quite what you need. Recommendation, push for language that allows this, or if you want to operationalize this, you can accept it. So the intern is doing exactly what I would expect it to do and saying, hey, you've got a judgment call to make, A or B. I make B. And then I tell, all right, operationalize that, give me the red line. So it basically has done this, but I'm going to click apply and it will go ahead and create that run line. And as Lindsay had showed, it's going to do it. It's going to do it as me. Pretty awesome that it's doing that. Very exciting to see. And you can do this across any of these changes, right? And then you can actually say, give me an email to customer co explaining this. Very exciting. So let's go look at our bingo card. I'm going to pull up the deck and just double check that we've been through this. But yeah, we can open up the floor for questions.
And I can show as well. I don't know that we've showed like just using it as like a drafting partner. So you can just use it as a gut check of, is there another way that I should be thinking about this, be drafting this, etc. You can think about it something like asking at high level, is section 5 of this agreement standard? Is that normal in this type of agreement? What changes could we make? I had a clear sense of, I want this governing law, I want this. And this is an NDA, it's probably pretty common, but there's going to be agreements like Cecilia's example of the AI where you're like, this is odd. I haven't seen this before. So you can use AI as a thought partner for, is this something typical in this kind of agreement? Is this something that we should maybe push back on more? So you can see here, I said, all right, is it normal that, oh, this is just the governing law section. And so here, is it normal that we would disclose there? It says, yep, it's standard. I would suggest adding to the extent legally permitted. We could add language to beef up to make sure our information is not disclosed more than it needs to be. So it's not saying this whole section needs to go. It's saying these are minor tweaks I would suggest making to better protect your interests as a party sharing confidential information. So that's how, even if you're not entirely going in with a specific list of action items, you can say, help me come up with a little bit better of language, improve it on the margins to better protect the interests of my customers. Cool. Did we check everything on your checklist, Cecilia?
We did. The example that I'm seeing is folks asking about coming up with your positions. And yeah, this is why for us, like we actually did the web app first, where you can upload a bunch of things. So when I say web app, gc.ai, where you actually interact in more of a chat GPT-like way, that I find is a better way than manipulating an individual document, right? So right tool for the job. So if you wanted to upload a bunch of NDAs and come up with your own NDA playbook, then yeah, you absolutely could do that. So great use of AI. So redlining, we showed that. We showed the issue spotting, right? We showed drafting. Comments, that's fun, where the AI gives you that first comment is, think it's probably in the thousands. And I was like, no reason to be embarrassed. That's amazing. But I still AI because telling the customer to pound sand in a nice way, like it just takes a lot of mental energy, right? And so anyway, this like AI makes making you nicer is not on here, but it is absolutely an AI use case. So we've got comments, we've got reviewing, summarizing is a good one, right? So that very first one I showed, where I'm like, hey, what do these red lines do? The use case for that is amazing. We've even had people where they had three different red lines and they were like, what is the position of law firm A, law firm B, law firm C for three different parties they were managing an M&A? And we get feedback. When you submit feedback, we don't see your chats, obviously, but when you submit negative feedback or positive feedback, we either treat it as a bug or we'll look at if it's something that you're willing to share with a thumb up and down. And this particular person was like, I've been in M&A for 15 years and never seen something like this. So you don't have to have those jaw on the floor moments. It's much more, yes, of course, the jaw on the floor moments are great, but everything that she showed, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, half an hour there, and 2 hours there, that's where we get to this basketball game that we call practicing law in house is going to raise that level. Wow, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much. I'm like just the community and the amount of attention and kindness that everyone is showing. It makes me so excited for our profession. Lindsay, where can people find out more about this or do more?
Yeah, I know our colleagues have been adding in the chat the links for free trials of GCAI. That's something that we can talk about as well. We do additional prompting classes, browser-based prompting, and we walk through best practices for prompting. That's something that we can make available as well. But otherwise, it really just comes down to creativity, thinking about what are the little things in your practice that if you can prevent yourself from making the same comment 1,000 times, to Cecilia's point, you've saved a lot of time.
Fantastic.
What questions do people have? What's coming up?
I have written down a bunch of, there were so many, and you all have also been awesome at jumping in the chat and answering a lot of them. So I've eliminated all the ones that I've seen that have been answered already, and I still have a ton. So this is amazing. People are really engaged. So someone asked if it can recognize multiple rounds of edits or only the initial first round markup from the counterparty.
So what I would do is I would do that in like the browser-based platform where it can compare iterations because within Word, it's going to look at the changes as one particular turn. But within the browser, you could upload, this is what I sent, this is what I got back, this is what I sent back, this is what I got back. And it can come up with a middle point of comments that then you could then export to Word and apply, something like that.
Oh, cool. So what information was GCAI trained on in order to provide the redline feedback? And was it trained on legal templates or based on your playbook?
Yeah, this is a kind of nuanced point that I think people are embracing. So in AI, there's the concept of the foundation models, so the LLMs, right? So your GPT-4, your Claude Anthropic Sonnet, your Gemini, and at this point, all of those have read the entire internet, all of the Library of Congress. Basically, GPT now has had legal sources put in. And so if it is in any way public, quasi-public, available, that has trained the AI. And so from a training standpoint, the way that large language models work is they are based on prediction of next words. And so pretty much when you are evaluating vendors, be like, what models are you using? On the GCAI side, we're using 5 different models, but part of our secret sauce is which ones to call for what and what we tell them and where we tell them to look. So in terms of training, there's another concept called fine tuning, and another concept called what is your system prompt and how you do that. And in Word, we've gotten basically the engineering team and my co-founder are absolutely brilliant and figured out exactly how to tell Word to do all those things we said, to be surgical, to redline, to put reserved when you strike something. So that's a lot of the training that we do in terms of the sources. If you have things that are obscure or that you specifically want the AI to look at, my number one prompting tip is to give that document to the AI. So what's great about Word is it's a 4 corners task, right? Everybody remember law school, contract law, you want 4 corners. That's why AI is such a good match for contracts because the words of the contract are what's governing, or the words of prior contracts are what's governing. And so you can really use AI to your advantage there. Now, those of you who are litigators, amazing. I was a litigator before I went in-house. Check your citations and check even you want your AI to be very good at being faithful to the document. We have spent a lot of investment, and a big part of our secret sauce is like our document parsing, the way that we read the entire document, how we break it down. So you want to make sure that regardless what it's trained on the back end, that it's faithful to the document you're giving it. So we had an example yesterday, a Latham and Watkins associate. She was using Claude not for research. She had a citation to a book. She gives it to Claude. Claude adds a random author and she gets censured. And it's pretty bad. That was current news. That would not happen with GCAI because we show you exactly what we're citing to. And so in those four corners task, that's a bigger difference maker than the training, if that makes sense. We're using 5 different foundation models plus a whole lot of tech around getting you the accuracy and the exact quotes.
Amazing. All right, so next question we have is, do you have to work the NDA through with individual prompts every time, or can you also generate an NDA to-do list under which it just completes the whole review in one step?
Yeah, so you can absolutely do the to-do list. We didn't show that, but let's take a look. So we have in GCAI, we have basically a prompt library. And so we've got one called NDA review, and we can actually run that here. And it will give you a table against these questions, right? So who are the signing parties? Make sure there's no transfer of IP. Are there atypical provisions? In this particular case, that I would say that AI restriction was relatively atypical. So I would expect that the AI would come back and flag that. So we've created this sort of stoplight chart for you. NDAs are a very common agreement. We do the same for DPAs, data processing agreements, the same for MSAs, master main services agreements. And what's cool about this is that if you have your own playbooks, your own things you want to apply, we're going to make that available to you to be able to apply it. So here, for example, governing law being St. Clair County, Illinois, happens to be where I grew up. It's saying that this is not necessarily standard, which that would be, I don't think that many of the NDAs I've come across have that particular governing law, but in this case, customer co happens to be based there. So I'm okay with that. It's flagging it as a moderate risk. So you can, once you do this, what we've seen to be a good, Lindsay and I teach AI prompting 101, and I would consider that threshold skill of how you create a reusable, reapplicable prompt. I would consider that to be a good skill for you. So I would go ahead and take that. All of you are going to get an email from us to be able to, we worked out an agreement with Shy and Katie where all of you can join our 101 class. We're going to comp seats for that. Take that class, but the TLDR is absolutely you can. And AI, to the point that somebody else made in the chat, use AI to do AI, have it help you come up with a playbook. So that's going to be another thing. And then we're going to launch this out as a formal feature in the next few weeks. But my strong thing, my mom's a teacher, my grandma's a teacher, is I want people to understand the fundamentals and then they get the tools to automate.
Fantastic. And thank you so much for offering that. That's going to be such an awesome opportunity. So definitely go sign up for those one-on-ones. All right, we still have some time. Lindsay and Cecilia, I just want to check in that you're okay to hang out for a minute and keep answering questions.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Great, because they're still flying in.
Amazing. Let's go. This is so fun. Yeah, Brittany, I love it. Yeah, Link. I think the other thing I do think prompting is it is a moment in time, but I also think that increasingly us as in-house folks, no matter your practice area, it's increasingly going to be about directing others and directing AI. And so that's going to be a big thing. And so knowing how to do that. Other fun stuff we've seen, we had a user tell us that they went over a contract and they had an issues list. And she popped the issues list into Word and said, here's what we agreed on. And it went and did it. And she circulated the red line within half an hour of the call. And people were like, dear Lord, this person is really motivated. And she said she wept. And I'm like, oh my God, I probably would too. But when you think about it, oh, sure, we'll get you the responsive red line. You have the pen. One of my biggest career mentors told me that good career advice is when you get the opportunity to take the pen, take it. Because how you translate what was agreed into paper is like a key power dynamic in a deal. And so the ability to have AI take that translation to AcmeSoft or whatever her company was and get that turned immediately. We had another user tell us that he schedule sends his emails now. People don't think that he's that fast and don't come to him for more.
The curse of competence.
I know. That's amazing.
That is incredible. Wow. I'm being too responsive. People think I'm too amazing because
Well, this is the thing, is it's actually, so somebody else asked about if AI can help you with your posture. I will tell you that
yeah.
I leaned on AI to help me with the soft skill part of the job, right? So if you're going to have a tough conversation, another random AI tip is to give it a persona. We could actually have, so let's see. I'm going to show you, this is going to be a crazy one. Let me show you looking at hang on. Let me stop the share while I figure this out. Okay, it just stopped. Okay, great. I'm going to show you this using it for a separation agreement. All right, so separation agreements are pretty sensitive, obviously. And I'm going to basically ask the AI what's going on with the separation agreement. And I'm going to do a role-playing example where I'm going to say, hey, what would it look like? Okay, so I'm going to pretend that I represent the executive in this scenario. So scenario is a separation agreement. And I'm going to pretend I represent the executive. And I'm going to say, we represent the executive, write a real nasty gram saying that this separation agreement is not good enough.
To tell you, you might still be sharing the other Word document.
Am I? Okay, sorry. Let me make sure I'm sharing the right one. One sec. All right, separation agreement. Can you all see it?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. We represent the executive, write a nasty gram lawyer letter saying that this separation agreement is not how hard he worked and how he tripled the business. Okay, so something like this is basically, it literally took this document and is like, this offer is an insult. Okay, so it's saying it's insult to his abilities, etc. We represent his things to Acme include, let's say, 5 citations to the letter about how it's inadequate. Let's see, we'll go from there. The separation compensation isn't good. The agreement's
Wow.
refusal to pay an incentive bonus, no good. The lack of a reciprocal non-disparagement provision. Yeah, see? So it literally pulled out the top 5 issues and gave us a letter. If Acme is serious about an amicable separation, the terms have to be improved, confirmed by X date. Let's say we also had a user that gets in Word, they get basically like patent, like troll letters or subpoena requests that they just need to be able to deal with. Something like that, like a letter like that for me to put together, we could do a John Henry challenge, but I certainly couldn't have done it in 30 seconds the way I just did.
That is so cool. And actually, speaking of tone and persona and whatnot, someone else had asked if multiple people on the team use GCAI, will the tone of the comments be tailored to the person, given that people have different styles?
Yeah, so today it is a company-wide profile, but we're launching individualized profiles, I think next month. I don't want to commit and have engineering get mad at me, but that is coming because it is a common request. I'm like, that does not matter to how I mark up MSAs. And so I definitely have that kind of privacy lawyer sort of background going on there. Lindsay,
Yeah.
anything to add?
Yeah, and the other way, so if you want it to mimic a particular writing style, or we always say this, or we never say this, is we showed how you can save prompts and you can also attach documents to those prompts. So you can have your own style guide that gets attached to every prompt that you save and say the output needs to conform with this. And so that's a way to build in whenever you use it, your personal voice.
Very cool. I'll do a couple more questions. I don't think we're going to be able to get to everything because you all are just so outstandingly engaged with this. So I have to cut us off at some point, but I'll ask a couple more and then we will let you go. Somebody asked, once you reset a chat, can you go back to old chats for review?
No, in Word you cannot. So we are adding that. I'm so sorry. It is literally like Lindsay and I are like, please build this. Unfortunately, you cannot. In the web app, that's actually another advantage of using the web is that you do have that history that you can search across. So we've had people negotiating an agreement, upload it to the web app, do all their manipulation there, and then three weeks later, when the other side comes back, be able to pull up your old history and see what you were thinking. It is nice also because the other use case that I didn't talk about is using AI to do a post contract signature document. One of our users, and she's amazing, her name is Jenna Hunt from Tipalti. It's a fintech company. She's mentioned that they like to do a kind of, okay, a contract has been signed. What did we agree to in this? And what are the operational implications of that? And AI is perfect for that. In particular, GCI will actually give you the section numbers and things, the citations of what you agreed to. So even if it's a third party agreement where you didn't have a lot of leverage and you had to hold your nose and sign, fine. But being able to tell the business, okay, you're gonna have to remember that in a year you have to do this, and we have an audit requirement under which we got to do that. And it's really helpful because over time, teams grow, people don't remember, we all do hundreds of things. So we're all
Yeah.
in there all the time, right? And so having something to be able to take that knowledge at a snapshot in time is very helpful. Awesome. Good. Hey, this was so much fun. Let's do this again, Kate and Shai and everyone on. Thank you so much for being so engaged. We're obviously just like crazy excited about our product and about just AI in general. If you like what we do have a 101 entry class as well as a 201 more advanced class. We offer certifications and things like that. But basically, I think that the big message is like a really good tool that does what you want plus you being like smart and capable and everything like you are and trained and into this and willing to experiment, that's where you get the great results. So very excited about that. Look out for us. You'll get emails from us. Also, check out my LinkedIn. I'll go ahead and drop my LinkedIn. I give a lot of prompting tips and stuff there. So if you want to follow there, that might be a helpful way to keep up with it with us. We're also, unsurprisingly, basically always hiring and excited to meet with you all and do that. And thank you so much. This was really fun.
Thank you. Thank you, Lindsay and Cecilia, so much for this incredible and really engaging presentation. Go connect with them. I'm sorry if we didn't get to your questions, but you can ask them. Get in the one-on-ones. Take advantage of that deal because it's amazing. I will see you all soon. Thank you again for a great, fantastic presentation, Cecilia and Lindsay.
All right, amazing. Yeah.
Thanks, Kate.
Install, try it out. Can't wait to hear your feedback. Send us feedback. We love it all. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Thank
See you later.
you.